Hey guys, hope you and your families are doing well. Jack Corsellis here. Welcome to the weekly IBD 50 video where I show you stocks in the IBD 50 list that I think are developing constructive basis. Going to be showing you them on the Market Smith charts. They're today's video sponsor. Discounted trial available in the comments below if you are interested. So we've got 14 stocks to be going through. We're going to be starting off with a biotech related stock, which, side note, I think healthcare and biotech stocks are looking very interesting at present. It's actually the area of the market where I'm seeing the most developing setups, alongside commodity related stocks, solar stocks, and also some semiconductor stocks as well. So let's jump on into it. So the first one up is CPRX. So first and foremost, what am I looking for? Well, my eye is always drawn to these squiggly lines here, the RS lines, both versus the market, both versus the industry group. We can see that they are very strong. Potential cup and handle type pattern forming here, so potentially carving out the cup. Now the handle still a little bit volatile, so this is one that I'm watching this week for everything to just tighten up. Now the stock has a history of actually being able to tighten up, as you can see in here, somewhat to an extent in here as well, around those key moving averages, though maybe around $16. If price can just start going sideways a little bit, tighten up in there, potentially set up around the 1021 EMA, nice, it may be a nice reference point. Consistency in terms of the earnings, the sales, the margins, earnings per share year over year expected to grow, and forward guidance increasing. So looks like a interesting one. Now Celsius, I was going to show you all of these on the daily chart, but I'll tell you what, let's jump onto the monthly chart, and I'll do this for one other stock as well. Unfortunately, you can't really see it fantastically well because it's not log scaling. Let's try the weekly chart. I'll show you on the weekly chart for Celsius. See this big old potential cup and handle pattern forming here. Now remember, it's the context that we are in of the market cycle, so we're currently in a bear market, but this stock is displaying fantastic relative strength. It reminds me somewhat of Monster Beverage in the early noughties, coming out of the bear market of the early noughties. That also was a non-alcoholic beverage related company. Let me see if I can get the, yeah, you see it here. Okay, so there was obviously a very bad market. I wasn't trading in the early noughties, but I have studied that market, studied those stocks that were winners from it extensively, Monster Beverage being one of those. So what do you notice in terms of Monster Beverage? See how tight the price action gets here. Remember, this is the monthly chart. You get what I call trigger bars. You actually go back to back on terms of the monthly bars, and look how the volume that dries up here. And you also have some nice big, what I call shakeout demand tails towards the lows of this base. So this is just something to ingrain in your head, that multiple tight candlesticks on average volume, below average volume, is an indication that there is absorption of supply or lessening supply coming to the market. Can you see the relative strength here as well? Look at the relative strength versus the market. Now this stock goes up thousands of percent from this entry point here. It's obviously split adjusted, but it goes up around 7,000% from this entry point here before it closes below its monthly 10 EMA. So these are then things to be looking for. Can you see here, this is during the financial crash. So you see how as it builds this base here, see how tight the price action starts to get, see how the RS line is turning up before the stock goes on a big run. So the causality point here, the law of cause and effect, is very important when you're studying and watching and looking at the market, looking for opportunities. So stocks that display fantastic relative strength in bear markets and tick many of the cancelling boxes, such as a Celsius, such as an Enphase Energy solar stock that I'm going to show you in a minute. You then have the smart money in the market. In the most recently reported quarter, being Q3 of 2023, you have 3 new high quality growth funds establishing a position. We're potentially seeing a nice big accumulation base forming here in terms of a cup and handle. We have got very strong RS lines, tick a lot of the cancelling boxes. Celsius looks interesting, has a history of being able to run hard, as does other brother and sister stocks. Think about Coke around about 40 odd years ago now. Think about Monster Energy, Monster Beverages as well. So I think it's interesting. I'm going to jump forward one. We'll come back to Medpace in a minute. Just want to talk about Enphase Energy as well. So same kind of concept as Celsius. You look at it on the weekly chart, it's starting to base out here really nicely, starting to tighten up. RS lines there, new high quality growth fund being Fidelity coming in the most recent quarter, triple digit earnings, accelerating sales, good estimates coming through, big old base there, has a history of being able to run well. If you haven't watched Tony Seba's videos on his YouTube channel or on Twitter, and the Rethink X reports on energy disruption, highly recommend that. I think some of these solar stocks are going to go on some big runs, and I'm trying to dial it into, okay, what do I think of the stocks that are going to be able to take advantage of that? I don't need to decide anything. I'll let the market decide, and I'll be trading those stocks with the strongest relative strength. So Enphase Energy, really interesting one, as are some other solar stocks too. Medpace, let's go back to the daily chart, which is what I was intending to do. So Medpace, in terms of growing earnings per share year over year, institutions love this. You can see 2022 estimates up, 2023 estimates up, with the guidance up. Most recently reported earnings, you can see gaps up there, strong close, good volume coming through, earnings 57, sales 30, after tax margins accelerating accelerating as well. So nice to see stocks holding up well, starting to consolidate on the 10 EMA. It just needs to tighten up, potentially form a low pivot in the low 220 area. Just watching and waiting for this one to basically drift sideways on the 10 EMA and potentially put in that trigger bar. So that's one that I'm looking at. We looked at Celsius. Let's go to EXLS is the next one. So interesting already over here that you have two high quality growth funds initiating positions in recent quarters, earnings per share growing year over year, positive reaction I would say generally to the two most recent earnings report. Little bit of cup and handle type action, maybe in the low 180s it can shape up. It's still a little bit choppy for me. So as you guys know, if you watch my videos, I like to see price action get really tight on those key moving averages. So you see in here how it isn't a great example, but see how it tightens up. Certainly over here you get a really nice trigger bar. This is actually sitting on the 1021.50 SMA in there nicely. Then it looks like it gaps above that on earnings. So looking for that very tight price action in the low 180s. Needs to go sideways a bit on the 10 EMA. Maybe the 21 catches up, but certainly one I'm keeping an eye on. Wing. So restaurant related stock, plenty of high quality growth funds in there, which is nice to see. 3 have increased their position in the most recent quarter. 3 have decreased their position in the most recent quarter as well, to be fair. So what I like here is these gap ups on the volume coming through. So consistency of demand, I call that. Now it's still a little bit choppy in here, but it's pulled back down to the 10 EMA in the low 160. So can this just go sideways a little bit more, potentially create a low pivot? RS lines look good. Earnings per share year over year look good and growing. So this one just needs to go sideways a little bit more around that 10 EMA, but certainly one I'm watching. Oil and gas stock, which as we know have been strong for the last 18 months or so really. So this one here, tick a par. So moving up here, nice, good volume coming through. Call this bullish synchronicity in terms of this rally. Now it's wedging up here. So yes, it's building a potential nice base. And maybe a pivot can form around $24.50. It just needs to go sideways a little bit more. It's wedging up here. I don't really like these wedging up ones, but it's on the list. It's on the IBD 50 list. It looks strong. Oil and gas is strong. It just needs to go sideways. Even better if the 21 EMA can play catch up as well. So then you get that trigger bar coming in. Price kind of clusters in. Trigger bar around the 1021 EMA could look fairly nice. PSTG. So this stock here, big old base, ticks many of the cancelling boxes. You can see this VCP action forming here. So see how it's starting to build higher lows. Pivot potentially setting up in the low $30 area. You got the 1021 in there. Can it just go sideways, potentially create a low pivot in kind of $30, $31 or maybe $30 to $32? Depends whether we kind of not me, but depends if the stock kind of acts a little bit better and sets up higher and absorbs some of this supply. But you see how the price action gets nice and tight in here. This is what I'm looking for. There's probably a song about that. SHLS solar stocks. So solar stocks look strong. Highest on my radar. Enphase Energy, SHLS, Array Technologies, First Solar, and there's some other ones as well. There's a lot of solar stocks setting up. Basically, can they just drift sideways and create those pivots, trigger bars on key moving averages? So what I am seeing a lot of recently is solar stocks reacting positively to earnings. Now, why does that matter? Who is active around earnings? Usually large operators, isn't it? So we get a sense of what are they up to, especially if we see kind of a continuous theme within that industry group that a lot of those brother sister stocks are gapping up on earnings, holding up well and then going sideways. So big estimates coming through, forward guidance up, positive reaction to the earnings, then pushing up as well. So clearly extended on a short-term basis, isn't it? But has the potential to now create a cup and handle, needs to pull down, go sideways. Minimum want to see the 10 EMA there for a trigger bar, but looks good volume coming through. So that is one I'm watching. P10, this is a oil and gas stock, drilling related. So see how tight the price action gets in here. See how tight it gets in here. The volume dries up. These are the characteristics that I'm looking for, and then trying to ride the intermediate term trend. So potential for a cup and handle type pattern to form in here. You do actually have a shakeout around the bottom of the base, then a strong recovery. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings on good volume. Earnings 165, sales 103. After tax margins accelerating. So triple digit earnings and sales for the last 2 quarters. Nice to see. So 10 EMAs there, 21 EMAs there. Potential low pivot. Maybe around kind of 18, 19, maybe it pushes up to 20. Just need to watch and wait on this one, kind of that Bayesian mindset. But if this can just go sideways on that 1021 EMA a little bit more, tighten up, volume come down, which it already is coming down, that could look very interesting. Another oil and gas stock is VLO. So this one here looks interesting. High earnings, high sales, margins, all of that good stuff. Fidelity in there, building a position in Q2 and Q3 of 2021. Potential cup and handle type pattern forming. Seeing this a lot with the oil and gas stocks, many of them building out cup and handles that you can also see on the weekly chart as well. So go onto the weekly chart, you can start to see it cup and handle, but it needs to go sideways a little bit more on the handle, as you can currently see on the daily chart. See how this is wedging up here? I avoid these wedging up breakouts. It needs to go sideways around 140, high 130s, something like that, and build that pivot out. But that's looking pretty interesting. GWW is another one, potential cup and handle. So here's the cup, here's the handle, still a little bit choppy in the handle, nice high price stock. You can see $600, potentially it can set up there. For whatever reason, the market likes to move to round numbers, as do individual stocks. So potential for this handle to play out this week, one that I'm watching. Steady Eddie in terms of the earnings per share year over year, albeit 2022 plus 48%, not bad, right? Fidelity moving in there in Q3 of 2023. So potential cup and handle forming, strong RS lines, and you have Fidelity stepping in there. So interesting, isn't it? ANET, I've got two more to show you. So this is ANET, similar-ish to a PSTG in terms of the potential kind of base setting up. You can see a bit of VCP action setting up, nice gap up on the earnings, good volume coming through, consistency with the earnings to sales, ticks many of the cancelling boxes really. Now, can it just see how it's wedging up here? I do not like these wedging up kind of action. It just needs to go sideways to down. For me, that's my kind of preferred approach for then targeting these. But if it can just drift sideways, 10 EMA, 21 EMA preferably catches up as well. But this is one in the IBD 50 that looks like it's building a constructive base as of right now. ON, I think this is interesting. You have three high, I nearly couldn't count to three there. You have three high quality funds invested, two of which have increased their position in Q1, Q2 and Q3. I can't even count to four. Q1, Q2 and Q3 of 2022. Interesting. Ticks many of the cancelling boxes. This one, I think this one is interesting, especially when you think about the clean alternative. It should go and read into their business model, clean alternative energy related space as well, and how they may be a player in that. So it currently is a little bit of a choppy base. Okay, it's fairly volatile, so this obviously needs to quieten down, maybe in the low 70s. You have the 10 and 21 EMA there, just needs to quieten down, potentially a low pivot, bounce nicely off the 21 EMA there. Shakeout demand tail volume starting to come down, so this feels at least 3 or 5 sessions away from it. Just really needs to drift sideways this week, but certainly one that I'm watching. You got the higher quality funds in there, so I think it's going to be an interesting one. So that is it, guys. I will wrap it up there. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. If there's any stocks that you are looking at, then please do comment down below, and I will give you my feedback when I have time. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.